List network shares from command prompt. Is it possible to browse a network for shares from the Windows command prompt? I want to map a drive to a network share, pushed, but I can't remember the exact name of the machine or share. Is there a way to browse the network to find the shares via the command prompt? Background: my Windows install was corrupted after an update and nothing's working now. I haven't backed up in a month, and I'm trying to do one final backup before I wipe it clean.
Try NetView to get a list of computers. If you have a computer's name, try NetView / computer to get a list of shares. Source: once you know what share you're after, you want to go with NetUse. Map a drive with NetUse X : / computer / share. Replace X with the drive letter you want to assign. Source:
Since this is the first result when I search online for Windows List Network Shares command line, I will jot this down. On Windows 10, when you want to list network shares with NetView in Administrator command prompt, by default you get I found this post. NetView system error 1231. This URL. I've tested the NetView command in my lab with a Windows 10 workgroup machine and met the same problem with U. Based on my research, it may be caused by the SMBv1 protocol not being installed by default. So, I went to Control Panel, uninstall a program, turn Windows features on or off the SMB 1.0/CIFS file sharing support. Then selected SMB 1.0/CIFS client to turn this feature on. Why do you need NetView? The NetView commands depend on the computer browser service, which in turn depends on SMB1. SMB1 is an old, insecure protocol which should not be enabled on any machine with an internet connection. Okay, so probably there is something else that can be used from the command line, and I found list SMB network shares and usernames they're authenticated under from command prompt. You can use the PowerShell command get some connection, local admin permissions required, .sample copied from Microsoft, this URL. So, I tried get some connection in Administrator PowerShell and it works for me. Edit: if you want to delete / remove / disconnect a single SMB connection, seems there is no PowerShell command for it. Disconnect from SMB share with PowerShell on Windows 10, no answer. How to close SMB connection to remote share? This URL. I can retrieve list of SMB connections using get some connection. How can I close those connections? There is no close some connection. There is close some session, but it has to be run on server, not client. The share is not mapped, so ROMIFS mapping doesn't close the connection. Is there any command to close SMB connection from client side using PowerShell? In theory I can run the netuse / delete command, but netuse doesn't always show all SMB connections. It seems to work randomly. Sometimes it shows only mapped shares, sometimes all shares. So your simple question of how to close SMB connections to a remote share requires a very complex setup of interconnecting settings to work properly. How do I log out of a SMB connection on Windows? There is a PowerShell command close some session, but I have no sessions, only connections. Otherwise, to close all SMB connections, one strong-arm method is to enter the service's applet and restart the workstation service. This clears the cached credentials from the SMB connections.
If you want to support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing.